Frog legs are a classic dish of French cuisine.
Tout le monde a déjà mangé au moins au bord de l'eau une fois des grenouilles persillades. C'est un marqueur très présent dans la gastronomie française.
They're served in high-end gastronomy or also as a simple dish made at home. They consume nearly 4,000 tons per year, often simply prepared in a pan with butter and parsley. But no matter how much the French love their frog legs, many if not most of the tidbits are tainted by uncertainty. The vast majority of frog legs eaten in France are imported, which is problematic for several reasons. In early 2024, a group of environmental organizations and scientists signed a letter to French President Emmanuel Macron to demand better protection for frogs abroad in accordance with the strict French rules.
PETA Asia investigators went inside the frog meat industry in Indonesia, one of the main exporters of frog legs worldwide. They witnessed frogs captured from their natural habitat and shoved into crowded sacks where they suffered for up to 2 days.
You can't eat garden snails immediately. You need to ensure any toxins they may have consumed are purged from their system. For the first 2 days, leave the snails without any food and regularly wash them. On day 3, give them a carrot and leave them for a couple of days until you see their drop-ins turn orange. Finally, wash the snails again and place them in the fridge in a sealed container. The cold will send them into a deep, deep sleep.
Say goodbye to these little buggers and send them in there for a bath.
Researchers from the University of Hawaii at Manoa discovered that snails and slugs may spread rat lungworm disease through slime, particularly when stressed. Rat lungworm is a parasite that develops between snails and rats, but the larvae has the ability to spread to humans. Symptoms can include fever, even nausea, vomiting, seizures, double vision, and other neurological symptoms.
Hey guys, it's me, Comrade Lavender here, and today I'm back with another anti-capitalism, true crime, deep dive video topic. Today I want to do a video about, food cuisines, such as, frog legs and factory farming snails for food and cuisines, that type of stuff, that type of industry. So deep dive, capitalism atrocities, biodiversity loss, parasites, health concerns, biodiversity disruption, animal abuse and animal cruelty, wildlife extinction, etc. So let's get started into this YouTube video topic. But before we get started, all my YouTube videos that are related to this topic will be on the screen right now if you'd like to check them out. So let's get started into this YouTube video topic. Some countries like France consider snails a delicacy and put them in their cuisines, while other countries like Morocco sell them as affordable street foods. France is the country most known to eat snails, consuming about 40,000 tons per year, and importing accounts for 25% of world importers. Only 3% of snails in France come from farming though, while the rest are directly taken from the wild or imported. Italy is in second place in the world of consumption of snails, and Spain and Germany are in third and fourth place. In Portugal, snails are also eaten, often cooked in tomato sauce, as well as in Greece, Cyprus, and Malta. In Serbia, at the beginning of 2005, there are over 400 registered farms for snail food production. Outside Europe, in Morocco, Algeria, Nigeria, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Philippines, Indonesia, Colombia, Venezuela, Mexico, and some regions in China, snails are also consumed as food. No one knows where the custom of eating snails actually originated from, but land snails are being eaten by people in the late Pleistocene/early Holocene, and the ancient Romans considered them a luxury food. Edible land snails range in size from 2 milliliters long to the giant African snails, which occasionally grow up to 312 millimeters. I don't know. Several species are eaten, from the Guinness helix, the European snail, the Romaine snail, or Burgundy escot, which is now the most consumed species of snail in France, and much more. In some places, people even eat the snail eggs, which they call white caviar. In France, white caviar is known as caviar des Gants. This luxury food is most commonly produced in France and Poland. White caviar originally comes from the European garden snail Halictus aspera maxima. There are 4 systems of snail farming: outdoor pens, in buildings with a controlled climate, enclosed systems such as plastic tunnel houses or greenhouses, and in a hybrid system where snails may be bred and hatch inside a controlled environment, and then after 6 to 8 weeks may be placed outside pens to mature. Some systems such as artificial lighting systems, water sprinklers, may be part of snail farms. For artificial ecosystems, snail farmers keep about 20 snails per square inch. Surrounded by escape-proof mesh and separated from each other by paths or service ways, these snails live in the pens, feeding on vegetation that is specifically sown and grown for them to graze on, while an irrigation system maintains the humidity level during the summer. Although most snail farms are in mainland Europe, there are also snail farms in the UK. Unfortunately, farming snails is increasing. So what exactly is wrong with factory farming snails exactly? Well, first off, farm snails are often kept in high-density environments that are completely different from their natural habitats in the wild. Snails have access to diverse vegetation, natural soil, and the ability to roam freely in the wild. However, in a factory farm setting, they are typically confined to small enclosures, and the lack of access to good soil may cause fragile shells to develop. Snails are very sensitive to environmental changes in the environment, and factors such as temperature, humidity, and light can affect their welfare. For example, drought, cold, and weather changes can cause disease and kill a large number of snails on farms. As they cannot escape and find adequate shelter when these environmental events occur, they suffer the consequences. The concentrated populations in snail farms make the animals more susceptible to predators and disease outbreaks. Like in any other factory farming, the cramped conditions of snail farms can facilitate the rapid spread of parasites and diseases overall. Snails are a host to a plethora of dangerous diseases, such as rat lungworm disease and lung fluke is a popular and life-threatening illness spread by snails and rats. Rats are the only species where the parasite can live a full life cycle, but snails often eat their feces and become carriers of the disease as well, too. Undercooked snail dishes and fragments of snails and unwashed produce, such as fruits and vegetables, are often the carriers of rat lungworm, although freshwater crabs, frogs, and land crabs also can carry the parasite too. Several snail-borne parasitic diseases can harm human health and cause socioeconomic issues and tropical and subtropical diseases. These parasites hurt the lungs, liver, bile tract, intestines, brain, and kidneys, leading to an overactive immune system response, cancers, organ failure, infertility, and even death. A 19-year-old Australian rugby player ate a slug as part of a dare and is paying an unimaginable price and fate. In 2010, Sam Bollard swallowed a slug that happened to be carrying a parasite known as rat lungworm. Bollard became ill, fell into a coma for 420 days, and woke up paralyzed. 8 years later, he still requires constant care and is fed through a tube. Globally, it is estimated that around 6,000 cases of rat lungworm have been documented, with China and Thailand having the most severely affected because they eat raw snails and slugs. Like most factory farming, some snail farming operations engage in selective breeding to produce snails with desired traits like faster growth or larger in size. And this genetic manipulation can lead to health issues and reduce genetic diversity. Capitalism kills biodiversity, as well as capitalism kills food biodiversity as well. We can see that through bananas, tomatoes, corn, etc. Although snail farming is often described as environmentally friendly, the invasive factory farming of snails can lead to soil degradation and the potential spread of non-invasive species if exotic farmed snails escape into local ecosystems. Snails also can accumulate bad substances, such as heavy metals, in their tissues if they aren't raised properly. These substances can be very toxic to humans and animal health and animals that consume snail-based feed. Land snails are highly vulnerable to the bioaccumulation of toxic elements due to the high levels of toxic materials in the environment. Snails regularly can increase your risk of cardiovascular disease because they contain a lot of cholesterol. Snails can contain toxins that can cause food poisoning. Besides phosphorus and shells, if added too much with a low calcium diet, it actually increases the risk of osteoporosis. 1 billion frogs harvested as food per year. The dark side of eating frog legs. Animal suffering and declining amphibian populations around the world. An investigation by PETA reveals that the conditions under which amphibians are captured, slaughtered in Indonesia, the world's leading exporter of frog legs, whose main market is in France. France is the world's leading importer of frog legs, and the vast majority come from Indonesia. The consumption habitat affects ecosystems and causes animal misery and capitalism suffering. Several scientific studies have already demonstrated the pressure exerted by this trade on the amphibian populations in Europe and Asia. PETA Asia's investigators visited 7 frog capture and slaughter centers in Java, Bali, and Sumatra in 2023. The scenes filmed by PETA show how the amphibians are captured in the wild, the frogs consumed are rarely bred on farms, and crammed into bags where they left for more than 2 days, without any water supply, where some die of suffocation. Live and dead frogs are sorted on the ground. Some are knocked to the ground to be killed. These frogs are treated like commodities, objects that feel no suffering or pain. The main market for these frog legs is in France, where they're considered a delicacy and a luxury. Indonesia, the world's largest importer of frog's legs, sells hundreds of millions of them to distributors in the EU every year. The European Union imports an estimated 4,000 metric tons of frog's legs. The damage brought by this industry is beyond the nightmare it inflicts on frogs. Indonesian suppliers deliberately mislabel the frog species they sell, and research from various sources has shown that frog populations in Indonesia have declined in recent decades. If this trend continues, problems stemming from ecological imbalance, such as an increased use of pesticides or herbicides due to a lack of insects, natural predators will eventually develop. According to the International Union for Conservation of Nature's Red List of Threatened Species, populations of the fanged river frog and crab-eating frog are decreasing. Frogs are considered by conservationists to be a keystone and an indicator species, meaning that they're integral to a healthy, functioning ecosystem, and that their decline is a sign of ecological problems.